Burkina Faso's junta claims it's for a major coup attempt. Now, this is a new development in Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso's military government announced on Monday that it had successfully thwarted a major plot to overthrow junta leader Captain Ibrahim Traore, who has been making the rounds on the media, exposing what it called a dangerous alliance between rogue military officers and terrorist groups. But with key competitors still at large and trust within the armed forces eroding, can the government hold the line, or is it sitting atop a powder keg ready to explode? Authorities say they uncovered the coup plot after intercepting communications between a senior Burkinabe officer and leaders of armed terrorist factions. Security Minister Mahamadou Sana revealed on state television that the plan involved both active and former soldiers alongside extremists. He specifically named Captain Rin David, now a fugitive, as a central figure rallying forces for the attack. Now, the plotters had allegedly prepared to storm the presidential palace on April 16, 2025, aiming to sow total chaos and place Burkina Faso under international supervision. Now, this is not the first threat to Traore's leadership since taking power in 2022. He has faced multiple destabilization attempts, including another alleged plot disrupted in September 2024. Analysts are now asking, is the junta's promise of stability just an illusion or an internal enemy growing within its own border? Since 2022, Captain Traore's regime has vowed to eliminate jihadist threats and restore order. He even pivoted towards closer ties with Russia to seek security assistance. Yet, almost 40% of Burkina Faso remains under jihadist control, and violence continues to tear through the Sahel region. Burkina Faso was the world's most terrorism-affected country in 2024, recording over 1,532 deaths, according to the 2025 Global Terrorism Index. Now, if foreign alliances and military crackdowns have failed so far, what strategy is left to rescue the country from sliding into deeper chaos? Meanwhile, adding another layer of tension, Minister Sana accused plot instigators of operating from a neighboring Ivory Coast, though Ivorian authorities have yet to respond. This isn't the first time such accusations have surfaced. Last September, Burkina Faso similarly alleged that conspirators were being sheltered across its borders. In recent days, several Burkinabe military officers were arrested for allegedly planning fresh moves against the junta Ibrahim Traore. And now his move is one of revolution. But then how does he intend to move with the tide surrounding his own government? Moving on, in another development, the government of Burkina Faso has strongly criticized recent comments made by the United States General Michael Langley, commander of the United States Africa Command, during a hearing before the United States Senate on April 3rd. Now, in a statement issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Regional Cooperation and Burkinabe Board, the government firmly rejected General Langley's remarks, describing them as unjustified and politically biased. The general had questioned Burkina Faso's foreign partnerships, suggesting that the country's policy decisions were not serving the best interests of its citizens. Now, during the Senate hearing, Langley expressed concerns over the growing presence of Russian entities in African countries, particularly the Wagner Group, arguing that such partnerships could undermine local populations and pose long-term risks to regional stability. Take a look.
The approach that we have had with USAID and the other things like the President's Initiative on AIDS, how does our U.S. approach compare and contrast to the approach of Russia in Africa and also Communist China in Africa?
Okay, what we do best. And I think the African countries know this. And so this is where, as we start to look at going forward, as State Department starts to reset these programs, looking at what worked and what didn't work, and doubling down on what does work. I think we have enough capital built up in these countries for them to ensure their stabilization and also prosperity.
The requirements that affect me. So our principal presence on Greenland, the United States personal presence on Greenland, is the base at Pitafik in northwestern Greenland. That is not under my operational or administrative control. That's a Space Force base, and I don't know if it's adequate for them or not. From my perspective, as both the Supreme Allied Commander and the U.S. European Command Commander, I have all the access and basing I need to prosecute the operations that we've talked about in the High North during this.
That's a concern right there for the United States. But then, Burkina Faso countered these claims by reaffirming its commitment to combating corruption, defending national sovereignty, and advancing development in critical sectors such as agriculture, education, healthcare, and security. The government highlighted the achievements of the Defense Security Forces and the volunteers for the defense of the homeland in reclaiming territories previously affected by terrorism and restoring peace in vulnerable areas. The statement concluded with a call for mutual respect and upholding of national security and sovereignty in international relations. It also urged international partners, including the United States, to engage through proper diplomatic channels and maintain respectful, constructive dialogue. Now, Burkina Faso, alongside its allies in the Confederation of Sahel States, reaffirmed its commitment to fostering this partnership based on equality and mutual respect. Now, also bringing you to the conclusion of this report and taking you through the recent happenings from the home front, with security challenges mounting at home and diplomatic strains rising abroad. Burkina Faso's junta faces a critical test right here. So now, is a terrorist government threatening national security or merely firefighting inevitable collapse from within? Now, this is Africa. And looking over at Ambazonia and the cause of our struggle, which is also Africa too. The world is watching. Well, we'll get to hear more breaking updates on Undaunted, detailing reports from the home front right after the break. But before then, here's an announcement from the Chief of Staff of the government of Ambazonia, Dr. Yaya Fonye. Let's take a watch.